Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube, back with another Dark Shadows video for you guys and gals. Here to review episode 29 of Dark Shadows. What an episode it is. Joan Bennett's character is looking out the window, and in walks Carolyn. She takes off her coat, uh, and she walks into the drawing room, and she tells her mother that she searched every place she ever knew as a kid. Neither David's found new place, and she searched every place she could think of, plus places she hid as a kid. If David's found, either David's found a new place, or he really has hit the road. And uh, Elizabeth doesn't find her daughter Carolyn funny. Uh, she She's not happy with Victoria Winters. She's stressing that fact. Carolyn reminds her mother that David is a terror. He's a whore. He's a whore. Son about a kid. Oh my god, but it's true. Uh, uh, Facts are facts, right? You can't hide from the truth. Um, so, Joan's character says if something happens to David, she'll never forgive Miss Winters. And speaking of David Kellens, we go from the lovely, lovely mansion to Burke's hotel room. He tries to shut his door. David sort of blocks him. You doorstop, you must be a doorstop. And David, he lets David come in. He goes, I've been waiting for 2 hours. Oh, come in, you know. Um, the fact he says David's name. He says, so what brings you, here and stuff to David? And how'd you know my name? Oh, you're the amazing disappearing David Collins. Everybody knows about you. God. Um, Burke says he'll make David a drink. He goes to go in the kitchen. I bet there's a phone in there. Um, he promised Burke promised David he wouldn't call his parents. He wouldn't call his dad or his aunt or anyone. And Burke says, David, I've broken many promises. He says to lawyers, to doctors, to an Indian chief. Like, I feel like Mitch Ryan missed his calling as a pro wrestler. The way he's going down these lines, like, I feel like I'm hearing Hulk Hogan say your prayers, take your vitamins or something, which is just funny. But never to a kid. He said never to a kid. Yeah. And so as Burke Devlin goes into the kitchen, David pulls out the bleeder valve out of his pocket. We know why David's really here. He's here to plant the bleeder valve in Burke's room. Burke comes back out, and David hides the bleeder valve behind his back. And Burke tells him, "Oh, if you want to wash up, the bathroom's there." And then Burke goes back into his kitchen, and then David hides the bleeder valve in the cushion underneath the cushion cushion, easy enough for me to say, in Burke's room, and he sits there. And back in the Collinwood, um, Liz walks back into the great house. Vicky comes down the stairs. She asks, if she found David. She said that Vicky says that Matthews went down to the road to look for David. Oh, by the way, Carolyn says that earlier, I forgot to mention that Elizabeth doesn't believe David will walk into town at night. So we learn that it's night and storming. We learn that darkness has come. By the way, we also know that it wasn't, as Carolyn brings up, and I forgot to mention this, that it wasn't dark when David left. Good job, guys. Good job. I like that. So, a great discussion between Victoria and Elizabeth, how she's Vicky keeps questioning, you really think I made it up? You think I wanted to find that valve? I didn't. And then she didn't. I mean, it's all true what Vicky's saying. What you have in Victoria Winters is what you don't have in a lot of the Collins family members, a plethora of honesty. Um, but I will say we've seen Vicky lie. I mean, so she, but she is honest for the most part. It's not like Vicky's lies. How do I put them? They're not deceitfully evil, and you could say that doesn't matter, but to me it does. I think how do I put this? I'm writing a story with the opening chapter of the word intent. It's the intent behind the lie. If your intent is to honestly lie because you think it's a good reason, I don't necessarily believe in that tact, but Vicky does, and I can't say she's wrong considering what kind of people she's dealing with here. Um, Sorry for the little psycho there. Just, just a whole heap of psychoanalyzing. Well, basically what Vicky's going through with, with Elizabeth. Um, Elizabeth does ask Vicky to leave her alone. Please leave me alone, or to basically leave the drawing room, and she does leave. She goes up to her room. Vicky does, and Carolyn pays her a visit, and she senses that Victoria is not in a good mood. And she tells Vicky not to worry because we see that there's a storm coming. We hear it too. Uh, don't worry, he'll be coming home. David hates storms, so I don't think we've ever had a real storm since you've been at Collinwood. This is Collinwood by candlelight. The ghosts really move in, and again, Vicky's just not in the mood for it here. And Carolyn's telling her, "Come on, Vicky, tell me what's bothering you. What's tearing you apart? Your mother." I mean, what a line, right? Back in Burke's hotel room, you have a really good conversation because you have the conversation. David says, I wanted to. You're not as all like my dad described you. You're not this monster, devil with horns, if you will. He goes, I used to be, but then I got tired of the horns and stuff. And they have a little fun with this. It's a good sort of heartwarming episode, really, of DS. They have a joke about Burke being this dragon devil thing, and Mitchell Ryan cracks his funny smile, and because David's charging like $10,000 for the ticket. Back in the drawing room, we see Carolyn lay into her mother, lay into Elizabeth a bit. How could you not believe Miss Winters? And she goes, "What do you want me to do? To tear David apart? No, I want you to face the truth." Before all that, though, the one part I like most about in this, my favorite scene, is Carolyn say about, "Don't you think I'd want to if I were David, I'd want to murder my dad? Don't you think I thought about killing him the way he left you?" And you see the look on Elizabeth's face, but Carolyn doesn't because her back's to her. It's just a great move by a veteran in Jen Bennett and just great camera work, honestly. I really enjoy the camera play we get in these episodes. Uh, and here's the thing, too. It's not Leela Swift, it's John Sedgwick that directs this episode. So no Leela, but John directs these. Why not? Why not? Why not have John direct an episode? He's actually directed a couple already, but it's good to see him back for this episode. Again, you're getting good tension building too between Elizabeth and Victoria, and even Carolyn and her mother a bit. But Carolyn does sort of get this out of her mother. Her mother does say, "I don't believe Miss Winters did it. No, I don't believe Miss," because she was trying to pin it on the bleeder valve. Elizabeth, I mean, was trying to pin the bleeder valve on Miss Winters, and she's like, "No." Then she realized, I realized that it's not Miss Winters. I'm just. They can't be David. Why? She's having a hard time believing that it would be David. But again, I mean, she knows the situation between David and his dad, Roger. Roger's just a dick. um, oh God, especially the David, poor David. The end of this, before I get to the end of this episode, Elizabeth goes up and shuts the window in Victoria's room. She apologizes to Miss Winters. She says, she says I'm a foolish woman. Really? Really? Yeah, really? You are? Yeah, you are. You're a foolish woman, Liz. You're a foolish woman. Who's, but she also, in every way, she doesn't, she does say she's a foolish woman, but she talks about how there's no peace in the house. How there's no peace for David, no peace for Carolyn, no peace for her. It's a really sort of soul defining moment for Liz. And by the way, something we do really get in this episode I want to touch on before I wrap this up. When Carolyn leaves to go check, to leave the house in the opening, she says, "Please, God, let David be okay." When it comes to the Collins family, the word God does not leave their mouth a lot, especially in these episodes. Especially after Barnabas Rise and all that stuff. But to hear it, is it jarring? No, not jarring. But we do have to remember that, some question fans might always ask, do the Collinses believe in faith? And I'm going to word this very controversially. They believe in faith at times when they need it the most. And you might say that's not how faith was intended for, and you might be right. But you only call upon God when He's needed, or when you need Him, or when you're asking Him for a favor. But hey, that's how the Collinses are, at least for right now, as characters in this episode. Joan's character, I should say, Elizabeth. The ending is in Burke Devlin's room. He tells David to wash up. He's going to take him home. David goes, washes up, and when the door closes, Burke reaches underneath the couch cushion. I'll get the word right. And gets the bleeder valve. And you see two looks, a look of shock and a look of disgust and a look of disbelief. Well, three looks. And just great selling by Mitch Ryan. I'm sorry these aren't too terribly long reviews, but again, it's not like the episodes are an hour. You're only getting 20 minutes, 22-minute episodes. I will say that I can't sit here and answer why, completely why God was not included more in Dark Shadows. Again, I just don't think it's a needed subject in DS, because we're going to eventually get characters that sort of check that box, if you will. And we don't have characters now that are checking that box, so when God's mentioned on Dark Shadows, it sort of feels like a special occasion right now. Because, again, 29 episodes in, and you're getting the word God. And it's a great usage of it, though, too. It's not something that was just out of nowhere. please God, let David be okay. Please let her find and be okay. It comes across very natural when you have a character who's legitimately worried about another character. Um, Again, great selling by Joan. I mean, you know, it's sort of the same thing in a weird sense when she's up in Vicky's room and she's saying about how there's no peace. And really, those are the scenes you really got to watch in this episode too. Or when Carolyn leaves and please God let her find, let him be okay. You know, hey, because Carolyn, what I should say, Carolyn leaves to go into town. But obviously, she goes into town to either get Roger or find David, to pick up David. But Burke's gonna bring him home. That's what episode 30 is gonna be. Really, really fun episode this is. So Art Wallace, Alexandra is your narrator, and John Sedgwick is your director. Episode 30, guys. All right, I'll see you guys here soon.